What are some tips for an auction draft, right? Like auction draft is different from most
Mm-hmm.
of your other drafts. So in typically in your other drafts, it just follows your snake order, right? Whatever position you
Mm-hmm.
are is what you get. But for an auction
Mm-hmm.
draft, you got a budget, right? You got a budget
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be able to know your league. Like you got to be able to kind of play the draft as it's going. So, Pete, you got any like major tips for an auction draft before we get this thing rocking?
Yeah, man. Two of the strongest tips that I live by when it comes to auction, and we run a lot of auctions, man. But you gotta have your target players. Know at least like 3 or 4 players that are must-haves on your team. And every time you're nominate hyped up players that you do not want, so other people can spend their bread. You know what I'm saying? If you have
Mm-hmm.
like 3 or 4 players that you must have, make sure you get them. And by the time everybody else is spending their bread, you're gonna have enough money to fill up that roster.
Hell yeah. And then I think during the auction too is also like make sure you don't get enamored with like the actual auction aspect of this draft, right? Like
Yeah.
bidding on players or getting caught in a bid war, like looking at your money. And like I think you got to be able to know some of the key guys that you want to get in an auction draft before the draft even starts. And then you can leverage, don't get caught on like, I got to get stuck on this player, have 2 or 3 players in mind in the same price range and get the one that's more valuable because you're going to end up, somebody's going to want the same player you want. Maserati Marv. Everybody going to want Marvin Harrison. And that price tag going to go up. And just because you absolutely want him on your team doesn't mean you need to pay 30% more than his market price. So I always try to find value, just like in standard, try to find value, but especially in auction leagues, sometimes, especially if you're doing them live, bruh, sometimes you get crazy prices on these players.
Bruh, I'll say this, man. Auction leagues, snake leagues, you could only get so many players in from a specific tier. When you're rocking an auction league, man, load up one position, load up on wide receivers. And I'm talking stud wide receivers, and the rest will plan out. If you get like 2 or 3 studs, like you can do an auction, I'm telling you, a lot of talk preseason is values this, values that. This player right here that you can get in the 4th round, whatnot, what have you. If you got 3 or 4 studs,
Facts.
the rest of your roster is going to be minimal in terms of like how much it matters because those guys are going to be carrying you. And if you can fill them out with sleepers, fill them out with $2, $3, $4 players, you'll be all right.
Yo, what's good? My first auction draft. Hey, this is a good time to try it, right? If you've never tried an auction draft, get in right now because you'll learn like this format. I would say this: if you've never done an auction format or your league has never done an auction format, convince them, have them do a mock draft. This is the way. This is the way. And honestly, like you can build the exact team you want. Like, say you really want, you're like, man, I really, really gotta have CD Lamb. I really got to have CD Lamb, and you don't get the number 1 or 2 draft spot. Now you're at the mercy of your draft position. Whereas in an auction league, shit, the budget's unlimited. If you really want them, go get them. I would say this: just have a couple players in mind when it comes to elite players.
Yo, and one more quick tip, and this is the inside scoop. I don't really tell nobody this. If the first initial picks, people don't know what's going on. They don't know how to budget. They're unsure. They don't want to overspend within the first few picks. If somebody you really want, like one of your 3 must-haves goes up, go bid on them. You know what I'm saying? You bid on them and you try to get them because everybody's going to be like, oh, that's what he's going for. You get like CD Lamb for like, let's say $80. Everybody's going to be like, damn, that's expensive. The next thing you know, AJ Brown's going to be going for like, $89, $90 because people are like, damn, these positions are getting scarce. Get one of your studs early if they are. That's what I'm saying. Have 3 of them locked in. If one of them goes up early, don't be afraid to spend.
Don't be afraid to spend. Draft is going to start here in the next. We're going to start it in 5 minutes.
Let's
5 minutes. Starts in 5 minutes. You're supposed to go a little longer, P. You know what I'm saying? I thought you was a little long-winded on that one, my dog.
Hey, man, I'm to the point with it, baby.
I know you are. That's why you be sliding these granny DMs, bro. Why you sliding in them, man?
Hey, baby, I gotta get the granny DMs. Man, hey, you gotta know where the bread's at.
Facts. I ain't saying you did it, but ever since I started rocking with my dog J-Han, I got 2 shit. You already know what it is, bro. It goes without saying. What's understood don't even need to be said, my boy. Said, I don't know how the auction draft works. Good. Hop in this draft and get in. So the auction draft, it basically you get a budget, right, of $200. And so with this budget, you're able to nominate players and bid on them. So instead of actually having a specific draft order, you come in and you bid on the players that you want. I would say this, you have a limited budget. So make sure that you're able to get through the entire draft and get players that you want. Now, at the top of your draft, it's okay to go heavy and like have a little bit of budget left over, I would say. Like not everybody, you don't have to be worried about like not finding positions later on. You can have dollar players that you find value with later on, or players that you're going to get at a significantly less price when everybody starts to run out of money. I would say you don't need to have a balanced roster. So if you go into a standard draft, your team's going to be like, oh, I have a good quarterback, good running back, good wide receivers, good tight ends. Be okay with like really having value players, especially if you're a savvy player, right? And you can get those elite guys and you're getting them at a discount. And you're like, man, I got like a few guys later in the round, some sleepers that I really like. Get those guys for $1 or under $5 if you can. So this draft, we only need one more spot to fill up. This is it. It's probably my favorite way of doing drafts. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, auction. Once you guys get hip to the auction game, bro, it's addicting, man.
Yeah,
it's addicting.
Straight up. Superflex auction. Yes, it's going to be a Superflex auction. 12 teams. What's good, Gabe? What's good? Teddy said it's also my first. So a lot of first timers in here. If you're watching right now and you're like, man, I've never tried it. Let me just see what it's like. Hop in, man. It's fun. What's good, J-Han Q? What's good, bro? Don't know much about auction, but how do you know how much you should pay for stud type players? So on your system, it's just like an ADP, right? So down here, you can see it. You will see the values for each individual player, right? So like Josh Allen's going for 52 in this format. I think that's a little high because we also got to consider the rest of the budget, right? But for you, that's going to be what his ADP is, right? His ADP, here's the projected value. Same thing here. Christian McCaffrey, $66, $49. And this year, I'm going to try to give you guys some of my own auction budget rankings. So you'll have that, and it'll be a range. Like I'd spend anywhere between this range to this range. So you'll see the projections there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of throw you guys off right now. I ain't going to lie. Like the very first pick I'm going to put up is probably going to go for way too much money just because of that. So I'm going to throw you guys off with the first couple picks, and let's figure this thing out, P.
Let's get it, man.
Cade, hop in the stream, bro. He said, King Henry in the building. You already know what it is. He said, Justin, this will take 2 hours. Can you stream a different time when I'm not at work? This is only going to take like an hour, and I'll cut this up and repost it too, so you can just check out the actual auction video itself. One last spot, man. We got one last spot. Anybody want it? Anybody want it? Draft starts right now.
Yeah.
Good question, P. I want you to take this one. What happens when you run out of money and don't have every position?
You just wait, man. You run out of money, you're going to have enough budget to draft $1 players. And don't be afraid of that. You know what I mean? I mean, if you got like 2-3 spots you need to fill, don't be afraid of that because you'll be surprised who's out there for $1 players. You know what I mean? People slip in these auction drafts. So if you're top heavy, in my opinion, that's a good thing. If you got stacked wide receivers, you got 2 top 5 wide receivers or whatever it is, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? You want studs to carry your team, and then you can fill out the rest with these dollar players, bro.
Yeah. The difference between like a Najee Harris and a player that you get for $1 isn't going to be like the difference between a Devontae or let's call it CeeDee Lamb and a mid-tier wide receiver 3. Like that's the difference in price tag that you're going to have. So just remember that when you have your bread.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yo, Justin finishes workout. Daniel, tap back in with you later, bro. Appreciate you tapping in.
Yep.
Start, bench, cut, auction draft, redraft in Dynasty. I'm cutting Dynasty infinitely. Dynasty can fucking go, bro. Dynasty can go, but I think in redraft in Dynasty are this, auction is different than like redraft and Dynasty. Redraft and Dynasty are the types of leagues that it is. I would say auction and standard are the ways that you can draft each one of those leagues. So, all right, last minute. Here's the last spot. Somebody got the last spot, number 2. Somebody get the last spot, unless it just hasn't reloaded. Hasn't reloaded for mine. Is that what we needed? Okay, good. We in it.
We in there. We in there.
Let's start this thing. Let's start this thing. I gotta turn off these sounds though. All right, baby. First one going up. Jonathan Brooks. How do I nominate him, bro? Why didn't it nominate him?
It's
Oh, yeah, up there. And this is a 10-second clock. In most of your drafts, the clock is going to be a little bit longer. So that's why when Tony says, Justin, this will take 2 hours, most of the time you get like a 30-second clock when you're drafting. So